Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're taking a look at just one source, but it's a really detailed one. It's a conversation comparing two daily routines.
Yeah, and our mission really is to pull apart how modern life shapes the way we structure our days.
Hmm.
We want to get into the real mechanics of it all.
Exactly. We're going beyond just listing times. We've got Richard, who's your typical office worker, and Anna, a university student.
Right, two very different worlds. Richard's got that 9 to 5 structure, Anna's got the flexibility and maybe the chaos of student life.
And we're not trying to say, which routine is better. It's more about understanding why their lives demand these specific choices.
Mm-hmm. Because it's often those small things, isn't it? The little details.
Like whether you drink tea or coffee in the morning, or how you get to work, or what you do to unwind. Those are the things that really define the day.
They really are. They build up. And for you listening, this is about realizing your own routine isn't just random. It's probably a strategy you've developed, maybe without even thinking about it too much.
A strategy for survival, you could almost say.
Yeah, perhaps. And if we're talking beginnings, the source dialogue points to something really crucial right at the start of the day.
Yeah.
It's this difference between, waking up when the alarm goes off.
And actually getting up, that delay.
Exactly, that little buffer zone. It seems both Richard and Hannah need it, and it kind of sets the tone for everything else.
Okay, let's dig into that buffer. Richard, the office worker, he's up earliest. Alarm goes off at 6:30 a.m.
Right. And Anna, the student, she gets an extra half hour waking at 7 a.m.
But like you said, the interesting thing is neither of them actually leaps out of bed.
No, definitely not. Richard actually gives himself a full 30 minutes, wakes at 6:30, but doesn't physically get up until 7:00.
Wow, 30 minutes. That's quite a while.
It is. And he says it's because he needs time to wake up. Just that. Which, for someone facing a structured 9 a.m. start, possibly with clients.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's like mental prep time, building a little wall before the day hits you.
I think so. It feels like psychological insulation, time to just sort of calibrate internally before dealing with everything else. Rushing straight out might mean more stress, more mistakes.
Yeah, bringing that frantic energy into the commute, which we know is already stressful for him. So that half hour is like non-negotiable mental space.
Exactly. Now, Anna's different. She wakes later, 7:00 a.m., gets up at 7:15 a.m. So a much shorter buffer, only 15 minutes.
Okay, 15 minutes. And what's she doing?
Well, the source says she uses that time to check my phone.
Ah, okay, so that's a fundamentally different use of that buffer time, isn't it?
Completely. Richard's seems internal, almost protective. He's minimizing input. Anna's is immediately external, connective.
Right. She's plugging into the world straight away. Maybe that reflects the student need for updates, social stuff, class info.
Could be. It's just Richard, maybe because his job involves so much communication later, really needs to guard that initial quiet time. Anna, maybe because her day is more about taking information in, she starts by connecting out.
So 30 minutes of quiet prep versus 15 minutes of active connection. That tells you a lot about what they feel they need to face the day.
It really does. And then what happens after they get out of bed? Their actual first actions.
Well, Anna's very specific. She goes to the bathroom, brushes her teeth, and then takes a shower. She says it helps me feel fresh and awake.
Okay, so she's using the shower as a physical wake-up call, a jolt to get going, especially after maybe scrolling on her phone for 15 minutes.
Makes sense, particularly with classes starting later at 10 a.m. She needs that boost.
Mm-hmm. But Richard, he doesn't mention showering in the morning routine described.
No, he just talks about getting dressed and then breakfast, given he wakes at 6:30 and needs to leave by 8:30.
Right, that timeline is tight. It strongly implies he's maybe showering the night before or just skipping it in favor of efficiency. He seems to prioritize that internal buffer and getting breakfast sorted over a morning shower jolt.
Maximizing every minute for that mental prep and the logistics of getting out the door. Different energy strategies again.
Absolutely. Which leads us nicely into breakfast. This part is really illuminating, I think, the fuel choices.
Yeah, this is where you really see the office worker versus student needs diverge. Yeah.
Totally. Let's start with Anna, student. She has toast with jam.
Quick carbs, sugar.
Yep. And crucially, coffee.
The classic student combo. Fast energy.
Exactly. It's a sprinter start, like you said earlier.
Yeah.
She needs that quick jolt to be alert for her 10 a.m. classes, ready to absorb information, high peak, maybe a crash later, but gets her going fast.
Okay, so Anna's sprinting. What about Richard?
Richard's running a marathon. His breakfast is heavier, cereal with milk. Sometimes he'll even have eggs.
More sustained energy, protein, complex carbs.
Right. But the big difference is the drink. He explicitly says he prefers tea, not coffee.
Tea. Okay, that's significant, especially for a professional facing a long day. Why tea?
Well, think about it. Tea, especially black or green tea, often has L-theanine in it, along with the caffeine. And L-theanine is interesting because it sort of smooths out the caffeine buzz.
Ah, so you don't get those sharp jitters or the big crash later on.
Exactly. It promotes more of a calm focus. And for Richard, who's dealing with clients, meetings, needing to be, diplomatic and composed all day,
He can't afford that mid-morning coffee crash. He needs steady energy, stable mood.
precisely. He's optimizing for sustained cognitive and emotional stability. Anna's optimizing for immediate alertness. Their breakfast is literally fueling their specific job requirements.
That's fascinating. The breakfast choices are a direct strategic response.
Okay, so they've fueled up according to their needs.
Mm.
Next up, getting from home to where they need to be.
The commute. And this is where Richard's structured day immediately hits a major snag, right? The stress factor.
Oh, absolutely. Remember, he has that tight 30-minute window.
Yeah.
Leaves at 8:30 a.m., needs to be at work for 9:00 a.m.
And the source is very clear. He drives, and there's a lot of traffic.
Yeah, driving in heavy traffic, that's not a passive activity. That's high active cognitive load.
You're constantly making decisions, reacting, braking, watching other cars, worrying about the time.
Exactly. So any benefit he gained from that calm 30-minute buffer and his slow-release tea breakfast, a lot of it probably gets eroded by the commute stress.
He arrives at the office already mentally taxed, dealing with external chaos before the workday even officially begins.
It's a significant energy drain right at the start. Now let's look at Anna.
Her classes start later, 10:00 a.m., so she's got a bit more breathing room in the morning.
She does. And her commute is different too. It's shorter, only about 20 minutes. And crucially, she takes the bus.
Ah, the bus.
Yeah.
So a passive commute.
Right. That's the key difference. Once she's on the bus, she's not actively managing the journey. Her brain is free.
You could be reading, listening to music or a podcast, looking over notes, texting friends, or just zoning out.
Mm-hmm. She's conserving mental energy during that transition.
Mm-hmm.
Minimal stress compared to Richard wrestling with traffic.
So she likely arrives on campus feeling much fresher, with her mental reserves intact, ready for class.
It seems very likely. That later start time, combined with the load stress commute, makes her whole morning process feel much less pressured than Richard's.
What are they actually doing? Let's look at their core activities.
Richard's day, as described, sounds very outward-facing. Writing emails, talking to clients, having meetings.
Lots of interaction, constant communication, responding to external demands.
Yeah, and that often involves a high degree of what sociologists call emotional labor. Managing your own feelings to present a certain professional front.
Right. Smiling when you don't feel like it, being patient with difficult people, that's draining.
Incredibly draining over a full day. Now, Anna's morning is focused on classes.
So primarily taking information in, listening, absorbing, taking notes, understanding concepts.
Exactly. It's mentally demanding, for sure, requires concentration. But it's fundamentally an internal process, rather than the constant external performance Richard's job seems to require.
Less emotional labor involved in sitting in a lecture, generally speaking.
Generally, yes. So you've got Richard being drained by interaction and managing external expectations, and Anna being drained more by focused intellectual effort. And that difference shapes what they need later.
So their mornings are quite different in terms of stress, energy use, focus. But then something interesting happens around midday.
Yeah, this was a really neat point in the source material. Despite all those differences, office versus campus, 9 a.m. start versus 10 a.m. start, they both hit pause at the same time.
Lunchtime. Both Richard and Anna eat lunch at 1 o'clock.
1 o'clock. It's like this universal marker, isn't it? Some kind of cultural or maybe even biological rhythm kicking in.
Maybe. That 4-hour mark after starting the main activity seems pretty common. Time for a reset, a refuel.
Mm-hmm. Richard's L-theanine might be wearing off. Anna might be feeling that coffee start to dip. Both need that break.
And what are they eating? Does that reflect their needs too?
It seems so. Richard typically goes for a sandwich or a salad. And Anna actually comments in the dialogue, healthy.
Ah, okay, so Richard's being quite deliberate there. Lighter options, probably trying to avoid that heavy post-lunch slump.
Makes sense. He still has a fixed afternoon of work ahead, probably until 5:00 or 5:3 p.m. He needs to maintain focus and energy. A big, heavy lunch would likely sabotage that.
Right, gonna stay sharp for the afternoon meetings or tasks. What about Anna?
Well, the source just says she eats in the cafeteria, so maybe less control over the specific preparation or healthiness compared to Richard choosing a salad.
Okay. But the bigger difference is what happened after lunch, right? Their afternoon structure.
Huge difference.
Mhm.
For Richard, the afternoon is basically a continuation of the morning structure, defined work hours, tasks, meetings, followed by that definite clocking out moment. Then the commute home, probably stressful again.
So a clear endpoint to the required work effort.
Yes. But for Anna, the student, the afternoon is often when the less structured but potentially more demanding work begins. She uses that time for studying or do homework.
Ah, the flexible but potentially endless student workload.
Exactly. That flexibility is kind of a double-edged sword. Richard has external boundaries, his boss, his clients, the office hours. When he leaves, he's generally done.
But Anna's work, her studying, could theoretically go on all afternoon and evening. There's no official clock out time for homework.
Right, so the pressure shifts. Richard's peak stress might be during the 9 to 5. Anna's stress might actually build after her scheduled classes finish as she faces that open-ended study time.
So she gains morning flexibility, but potentially loses evening boundaries. That's a really critical difference.
And it absolutely dictates how they approach their evenings, how they manage their energy once the official part of the day is over.
Okay, so evening time. They've navigated the main part of their day. How do they handle dinner and unwinding, given those different kinds of depletion?
Let's look at dinner first. Anna actually says she likes cooking. She makes simple things, usually pasta, rice, soup.
Interesting. So for her, cooking isn't necessarily a chore. It's maybe part of her routine, even a form of relaxation.
It sounds like it could be. After a day of perhaps solitary studying, sitting with books or a laptop, the act of cooking is physical, sensory, creative in a small way. It's an active way to decompress.
Yeah, shifting from abstract thought to a concrete task produces something tangible that can be really restorative.
hmm Richard, on the other hand, has a different approach.
Mm-hmm.
He explicitly states he does not cook every day. Sometimes he orders food online.
Ah, the convenience option.
Totally. After his demanding day, the commute, the clients, the meetings, the emotional labor, his priority seems to be minimizing any further effort.
He's conserving energy. Ordering food is essentially trading money for time and effort, saving his remaining reserves.
Exactly. So Anna uses cooking, perhaps, to replenish a certain kind of energy, while Richard uses ordering food to conserve his depleted energy. It's a really clear contrast based on their daily demands.
And does that pattern carry over into how they relax after dinner?
It looks like it does, yeah.
Hmm.
Richard's relaxation choices are pretty passive and solitary. Watching TV, listening to music.
Makes sense. His day was full of interaction being on, so in the evening he needs quiet, minimal input, no demands.
Right. He seeks sensory downtime, maybe even isolation, to recover from all that external engagement.
Okay, so Richard needs passive solitude. What about Anna?
Anna's relaxation sounds more interactive. She sometimes watches a movie, which can be passive, sure. But she also mentions talking with her friends online.
Ah, so social connection is part of her unwinding.
It seems to be. If her day involved a lot of solitary focus classes, studying alone, then connecting with friends provides the social interaction she might have missed. It balances things out.
It's like that oppositional recovery idea again. Richard needs quiet to recover from noise. Anna needs connection to recover from solitude.
Precisely. Their leisure isn't random. It's a tailored response to the specific type of fatigue their day generates.
Okay, so they've eaten, they've relaxed in their own ways. What about the final boundary? Bedtime.
This is the last piece of the structural puzzle, and again, it reflects those core differences.
Richard, the early riser with the fixed schedule.
He's also an early sleeper. Usually goes to bed around 10:00 p.m.
10:00 p.m. So combined with his 6:30 a.m. wake up, he's aiming for a solid chunk of sleep, maybe 8.5 hours potential sleep time.
Yeah, he seems to be prioritizing maximizing that recovery window. Given the demands of his day, the early start, the commute, the job itself, he probably feels he absolutely needs that sleep to function well the next day.
He can't afford to cut sleep short, so he sacrifices some evening leisure time for guaranteed rest.
It looks that way. Now, Anna, who started later and maybe had that work bleed into the evening.
She goes to bed later, right? Around 11:00 p.m.
Yep, about an hour later than Richard. And she actually gives a reason for it. She says she needs more time to relax before sleeping.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
So that extra hour isn't just staying up, it's designated relaxation time.
It seems so.
Yeah.
It's like the cost of that blurry boundary we talked about. Because her study might finish later, she needs that 10 p.m. to 11 p.m. slot to properly switch off maybe chat with friends like she mentioned, and create a clear separation between work mode and sleep mode.
Otherwise, her brain might still be buzzing with study thoughts when she tries to sleep. That hour is essential mental cooldown.
Exactly. It prevents the day from bleeding directly into her sleep.
So, different bedtimes driven by different daily structures and needs. But the source mentions one final thing they both do, right? Something that helps them actually fall asleep.
Yes, and it's a classic for a reason. Both Richard and Anna find that reading before bed helps them sleep better.
Reading. Not scrolling on a phone, not watching intense TV right before bed.
Right. It's a low stimulus activity. It requires a gentle focus, shifts the brain away from active problem solving or high alert states, and crucially gets them away from the blue light and constant notifications of screens.
It's like the perfect shared transition activity, regardless of whether you spent the day in meetings or in the library. A signal to the brain that it's time to wind down.
It really underscores the importance of having some kind of ritual, a deliberate step to disconnect before trying to sleep.
So if we just quickly summarize the whole span, Richard's day runs roughly from 6:30 a.m. to 10:00 p.m., about 15.5 hours, structured, externally focused, optimizing efficiency, ending early.
And Anna's is more like 7:00 a.m. to 11:00 p.m., so a slightly longer 16-hour span. More flexible start, internally focused tasks, but needing that dedicated evening decompression ending later.
Yet, despite all these differences in the how, they both seem to agree on the what. They end the conversation saying that even with busy days, they still find time to relax.
And they agree that having a good routine is important. The specific shape of the routine is tailored, but the need for a routine, some kind of framework, seems universal for managing modern life.
It's the structure that lets them handle the demands, allocate their energy, and actually find those moments to recover. Hashtag tag outro. Final thoughts for the learner.
So digging into this one conversation really shows um, how much our daily routines are these intricate machines, doesn't it? Designed consciously or not to deal with whatever life throws at us.
Yeah, we saw the strategy behind Richard's tea choice, managing that commute and client stress, and Anna needing that social time in the evening to balance out her study focus.
It really highlights that it's the small things, that 30-minute wake-up buffer Richard uses, the choice of bus versus car, cooking versus ordering. These are the places where you're either building up or draining your daily energy reserves.
Absolutely. It's about the intentionality behind those choices.
Right. So maybe the final thing to think about, something that really stood out from their routines. Richard, with all those external pressures, the fixed schedule, the emotional labor, he needs that earlier 10 p.m. shutdown.
While Anna, with more flexibility but those blurry boundaries, seems to need the later 11 p.m. bedtime to fit in enough relaxation.
So here's the question for you to consider. Is that need for an early, clean cutoff like Richard's mainly a result of dealing with constant external demands, like running out your social battery?
Or, alternatively, does Anna's student flexibility simply give her the luxury of extending her evening relaxation, rather than it being an absolute necessity driven by the nature of her day's work?
When you look at your own routine, what dictates your wind down time and bedtime? Is it external constraints forcing you to rest, like Richard? Or is it more about carving out internal space for release, like Anna seems to do?
Understanding that might help you figure out if you need to optimize your evenings more for structured rest or for intentional decompression.
Definitely something to think about as you wrap up your own day.
Thanks for diving deep with us today. We'll catch you on the next one.